Hello, Wonderhussy here, and welcome to my 150,000 subscriber spectacular Q&A session. Forgive me, I'm just having fun because I never get dressed up anymore. I haven't put makeup on in weeks, and, well, it's nice to know that if all of this ended tomorrow, I could probably still go back to modeling. Anyway, enough about me. Let's get to more about me. Seriously though, I got a lot of questions for this Q&A, and I don't want this video to be, 10 hours long, so let's cut to the chase. I have all the questions queued up here on my laptop, and I'm just gonna read them off and answer them in as timely a fashion as I can. And well, if you've watched any of my videos, you know that, well, I'm kind of wordy, so this might take a while. Matter of fact, you might want to go ahead and pause the video now, go make yourself a cup of coffee or grab a beer or a Xanax or something and settle in, because this might be a long flight to nowhere. Or I shouldn't say to nowhere, it'll be a long but intriguing flight into the depths of my psyche. Okay, well, we're gonna get started now. The first question comes from Peter. Peter wants to know, am I able to make a full-time living from my YouTube channel? Well, Peter, the answer is yes! It took a while. I would say I kind of started my channel seriously in fall of 2016, like right around Thanksgiving. So essentially, I really started beginning of 2017. And it took me probably like 2 years until I was able to support myself. Now, I live a pretty cheap lifestyle. My biggest expenditure is gasoline. I don't really spend a lot on makeup anymore. I don't carry fancy handbags or wear fancy shoes or anything like that. And I'm not a big tech person, so I don't always have to have the latest gadget. I just gotta buy gas for my rig. So the way I looked at it is once I started to make $2,000 a month, then I could quit modeling and anything else that I was doing on the side. So, well, that happened probably in like spring 2019-ish, so about 2 years ago. I hit that threshold, and well, that's how I was able to retire from modeling, which we'll get to a little bit later in this Q&A. Okay, next comes a question from Angie. Angie wants to know, what kind of camera rig do I use to shoot my videos? I gotta figure out a way to shoot this, because I'm using the camera rig to shoot this. Well, essentially, it's just a cell phone. It's a Samsung Note 20 Ultra. It's my current iteration. Prior to that, I used a Note 8, and then prior to that, I had a Galaxy 3. Basically, I just use a cell phone, because what's the point of carrying a big, clunky DSLR around especially when you're trying to hike or explore some of these ghost towns? Not only is it cumbersome, it's heavy, it's also very expensive if you drop it and break it. I did buy a fancy DSLR, one of those fancy cameras with a removable lens. I bought one before I went to Namibia a couple years ago, because I thought, well, I'm going all the way to Africa. I'm going to be taking pictures of all them giraffes. I should probably get, a camera. And, well, I'll just say this. I shot one video using that camera. And that thing was high-def footage, okay? And when you're vlogging, you're generally holding the camera, like, right in front of your face. And if you've ever seen high-def footage of your face up close and personal, well, you'll understand why I quit using that camera. And that's why I like using this cell phone camera, because even when I get real close, well, maybe not that close, it has like some kind of built-in software that kind of smooths out your face, I guess. Now, I'll be honest, on this phone I have now, it's adjustable, okay? And so I did play around with the sliding bar, like, oh, well, if I slide it all the way up here, it'll smooth everything out. I thought, that looks too fake. I don't want to be fake. But then if I slid it all the way to the other end, it was no bueno. So I'll admit, secret confession here, I have the slider up like 1 or 2 notches. And right now I got lights up, so my skin looks good. It's because of the lights, because of the makeup, and because I got that slider up a notch. Anyway, aside from the cell phone, the biggest struggle I have, because I shoot almost all my stuff outdoors, is wind noise. If you've ever watched a YouTube video that somebody shot without the appropriate microphone, you hear that, like, it's really, really unpleasant to listen to. I struggled with that quite a bit over the years until I found this really awesome microphone. It just occurred to me that I might as well just take out my old cell phone and take a photo my new cell phone so you can see what I'm talking about. But this is the microphone I use. It's called a Rode Video Micro. They call it, it's got this big fluffy windsock on it called a dead cat because it looks like a dead cat. But it successfully blocks out the sound of all that wind, even when it's like super windy out in Death Valley. So I have this microphone mounted on top of a cell phone on a little shorty selfie stick, and that's what I use to shoot just about all my videos. I did shoot several of my videos with a GoPro when I first started my channel, but the GoPro, the main problem I had with it is you can't see what you're shooting, you're just holding it. So I like to be able to see, you know, what I'm shooting. B, it was really hard to get wind noise reduction on a GoPro. You can't hook up a microphone like this. Well, you could hook a microphone like, it would just be complicated, okay? So I only used the GoPro at first until I think my GoPro broke and I went, oh dang it, I'm gonna have to use my cell phone now. And then I realized the colors were also more vibrant on my cell phone. Honestly, I don't recommend a GoPro as a camera at all. I've had several of them and I have one now. And I use it just for driving footage on my dashboard. Other than that, man, I've had a lot of problems with them. I feel like it's an overpriced and overrated product. So cell phone, Rode Video Micro, and some kind of little selfie stick is all I need. Another long-winded answer. I gotta get faster at this. Okay, now Larry wants to know, when did you develop your patented lowering of the sunglasses move? You know, this? Hello, Wonderhussy here. Well, Larry, I'll tell you. I just have kind of wussy, weak eyes. I always like to wear sunglasses when I'm out and about outdoors, even if it's overcast. I just like wearing sunglasses. But I also like to make eye contact and try to make things personal. And I feel like if I was just talking to the camera like this, it's like I'm wearing a mask. You can't really see my expression or, you know, what I'm doing, or even if my eyes are closed or open or what. So that's why I always do this. And I know it really drives some people nuts. I've gotten several comments. They go like, leave them up or take them down. Just one or the other. Stop up and down, back and forth. And I try not to go like too much with it. But every now and then, you know, I want to make a point or, you know, get my emotions across. I'll drop them down like that. Now, as to how did I get started with the intro, hello, Wonderhussy here. Well, I was thinking about it the other day, and I think it comes from back when I was a kid and I used to watch Sesame Street. If you ever watched the children's TV show here in the US, Sesame Street, there was this segment they used to do with Kermit the Frog. He was a reporter. Hi-ho, Kermit the Frog here. I think that's where I got it from. Like, when I first started my channel, I was just sort of goofing around. I wasn't expecting to make a job out of it. So I was just making little videos to put up on Facebook or whatever. And so I'd go like, Wonderhussy here, like pretending I was a reporter, you know? And I even made a little fake news reporter microphone at one point. I've used that in a few videos. But I don't know, I kind of dropped all that. And now I just keep the, hello, Wonderhussy here. And boy howdy, now I guess it's become somewhat of a trademark. Okay, now we've got a question from Christian in Ottawa, Canada, all the way up in the frozen tundra of Canada. He wants to know, since you've started your career as Wonderhussy in 2016, how many miles do you think you've put on your vehicles? Okay, so when I started the channel, I was still driving my old Ford Ranger pickup truck. I got my Toyota 4Runner June 2017. So let's just say I did about 8 months with the Ford. I don't know how many miles I put on the Ford. I mean, just a word about Fords. I know there's a lot of polarized feelings when it comes to trucks. And Ford, I've heard say, stands for fix or repair daily or found on road dead. I didn't find either of those to be the case. I bought that little Ford Ranger. It was an 05 Ford Ranger. I bought it in 2008 for like $8,500. I drove that thing for 10 years. All over the place, up many roads that I probably shouldn't have because it was only two-wheel drive. And I never had a single problem with it ever in 10 years. I'm not making that up, man. I had to change the battery and get the brakes done, but that was it. That thing was solid as a rock. Wait a minute. Like a rock. That's Chevy. I've never driven a Chevy. I'm sure they're fine too, but nothing but good things to say about the Ford Ranger. But then I got, thanks to a generous viewer, I got this Toyota 4Runner, and whew, talk about awesome, man. I'll never go back. Well, unless I need a truck, in which case I might actually get another Ford Ranger. And I actually might be getting a truck soon, but I'll get into that later. Anyway, how many miles? Well, I got the 4Runner in June 2017, and it's got 116,500 right now, so whew, a lot of miles. I think I drive about 30,000, 40,000 miles a year, and it's all for this channel, man. I'm always driving around, checking stuff out. So I'll just say this. I do appreciate all the PayPal donations and Patreon donations I get because I put them all in a gas fund for gasoline. Because boy, howdy, do I have a gas bill. Okay, next, Paul wants to know, when will you finally do a meet and greet in Las Vegas? Oh, man, I've thought about it. I had somebody offer their business as a place to do it, but I don't know. First of all, I would feel like I had a huge head if I had a meet and greet. Like, who's going to show up to meet and greet me? I mean, I'm sure a few people would, but I don't know. It just seems very presumptuous to have a meet and greet. And then I also thought about doing like a camp out meet and greet. Like, you know how Bob Wells from Cheap RV Living does the RTR, the Rubber Tramp Rendezvous, every year. And I think that initially started out kind of small. People who followed his channel blew up to what it is now. You know, now he's in an Oscar-winning movie. Congratulations, Bob. Love you. I would just feel weird doing that, I guess. I kind of like the way it is now, man. People run into me all the time when I'm out and about, just like randomly in small towns or driving on back roads. I do get recognized, and I like it that way. Although, I suppose if there were a big enough demand, yeah, I would definitely consider doing a meet and greet. I actually have more to say about that later, too, so stay tuned. Okay, now we come to a series of questions. There's a lot of people wanting to know what I'm going to do in 5, 10, 20 years. You know, people are curious. They want to know what I'll do when I finally meet my expiration date. Will they put me out to pasture? Will they send me to the glue factory? Probably both, but for now, I'm doing just fine. Cindy and Pete wanted to know, where do I see myself in 5 years? They had some follow-up questions. Do I plan to expand my travels after the pandemic is over? Yes, I'd like to travel more internationally. Although, to be honest, like, I went all the way to friggin' Africa and did those videos in Namibia, and, you know, they got views, but I did one walking down the street in Vegas the other day, and that got, like, almost more views than any video I've ever shot. So it's like, why fly all the way overseas when I could just do something in my own backyard? Well, because I'm curious. I do want to travel to other countries. So I have some pending international trips with a friend of mine. We'll see what happens with COVID. But yes, I do plan to travel more internationally. They also want to know if I might consider getting a bigger rig one day. Like I was saying in the last two questions ago, I love the 4Runner, and it's big enough for me because I'm only 5'3". I can stretch out in the back, whatever. Gosh, I sure would like a van. And I know that's a very trendy thing to say. Hashtag van life. Everyone's jumping on the van wagon. Would I really want to live in a van full time? I've spent a lot of time thinking about it, and probably not. I like having a home base to come to. More on that later, too. But I might consider getting a van just for, travels, because it would really be nice. I often find myself on the road, like, I can sit in the back of my rig and work on my laptop. It's not like the most comfortable environment ever, but I can do it. But if it's like really cold, or I'm in a Walmart parking lot or someplace where I can't just open up my tailgate and like set up my stove and all that, it's tough, man. Like, yes, I have boiled water inside my rig, and I do ventilate I open a door or something to let fresh air in so I don't gas myself. But it's really hard to do. It's not safe. It's not easy. It sure would be nice to have just a little more room to move around. So like just a small van, like an Econoline. I don't need a topper on it or anything fancy. Even a minivan, matter of fact. My friend Scott, I think I call him New Scott, the guy that I went to OMG Hot Spring with, he has been traveling around in it's like an Astro van or something, I can't remember, a little minivan for years. And he's very comfortable, and he's a tall guy, so maybe even just something like those Astro vans are cool too, because I think they're all-wheel drive, and you could probably get it lifted to where big tires on it to where it has a little bit of clearance at least. So that is a bigger rig that I might consider in 5 years. Okay, so that was where do I see myself in 5 years? Hopefully still making YouTube videos. Now, Sean wants to know, where do I see myself in 10 years? And do you think you'll still be on YouTube? Well, in this day and age, it's hard to say if any of this will still be around in 10 years. I mean, who knows one day to the next. Whew. God willing, dog willing, I'll still be doing what I'm doing because, gosh, it took me a long time. Sorry, it's hot because I have these lights on. It took me a long time to figure out what I wanted to do and what I enjoy doing. And let me tell you something. I'm having so much fun making these videos and checking out these places and sharing them with... I get a lot of emails from people who tell me, they can't get out because they're physically disabled or whatever, I really like being able to share these fun, weird places with people. So I don't have any plans of quitting. I mean, I suppose YouTube could close down. I mean, but there'll always be some other platform that I'll go on. So I feel like, knock wood, I could probably make it another 10 years. We'll see. And then Dave in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina wants to know, what do I see myself doing in 20 years? Okay, 20 years is a long time. I don't know that I'd still be doing YouTube. Who knows, though? I might be. I mean, I don't think I would lose interest in it. People might lose interest in me. I guess my videos might evolve somewhat. And this also kind of has to do with something I'll be talking about later. But I can see myself becoming ever more eccentric. Okay, I'm pretty eccentric now. I try to tone it down. I actually tone it down considerably for YouTube. Okay, I know you're probably thinking, what? You're pretty weird. Let me tell you something. I'm a lot weirder than you ever thought. I just try to, try to look nice like Mary Ann, Miss American Pie. Yeehaw! God bless America. Because I know weirdness isn't for everyone, and, I'm trying to broaden my appeal. But I do see myself maybe letting my freak flag fly a bit more in the future and making more just weirder videos, artsier videos. I don't know if there's going to be as much of an audience for that, but I'm hoping to, let's just say I'm hoping to be in a place where I don't need to make quite as much money to get by. And I'll get into all that later too, but I don't know. I guess essentially what I'm saying is in 20 years, I hope I'm still doing what I'm doing, just maybe even more authentically. Okay, next, we've got a few questions from Lloyd, and Lloyd is a very special fan, the guy who made me that wooden trophy that says 100K subscribers. I'd show it on camera, but it's too hard to get to because of all my lights. But if you've watched any of my videos, you probably remember that. Lloyd still loved that trophy. Anyway, because Lloyd's so cool, he sent me a few questions, and I'll answer them all. Do you or did you ever have nerves knowing that tens or hundreds of thousands of people would be watching you? Well, no, because like I said earlier, when I started my channel, I didn't think I was really going to make a job out of this, or I even hesitate to use the word career, but I guess it's a career. So no, I had no nerves at all. I thought I was just putting it up on Facebook. And even still today, I don't get nervous. Like, I'm not really nervous right now. I just feel like I'm talking to an old friend, which is what we are, right? I mean, if you've been watching my channel for a while, you've seen me looking pretty rough, and you've seen me in some rough times. So yeah, I feel like I'm just talking to people I know. It's not... No, I wouldn't really say I ever got nervous about it. But thanks for asking. Now I kind of am. Then Lloyd also wants to know, as a YouTuber, do you ever get to take a vacation? Well, it's kind of a complicated issue because watching the channel, you go, oh, all she ever does is go on vacation. And it's true, like, I get to travel around a lot, but what I don't show on camera is I spend a lot of time working. A lot of time. Editing, answering email, just, maintaining my social media. And I enjoy all of that work, but it is work. So do I ever get to go on a vacation where I just don't do anything but lay on a beach and drink Mai Tais? Rarely. Because even if I am on a beach drinking a Mai Tai, my mind is always working like, oh, that would be a cool video, or oh, that would be a cool shot. And I enjoy making the videos so much that it is kind of, the line between work and play is really blurred for me. And that can actually be problematic for a lot of people. I think it's kind of important to have like strictly delineated off time. Like I've often said, I should get a neon sign on my forehead or on a pin on my shirt or on my front door that says open or closed. Because yeah, I'm an extrovert now. I wasn't. Originally, I was born an introvert. I was an introvert until I was about 23. Very introverted. And so I still am an introvert by nature. I was able to successfully force my personality to change to where I'm not shy talking to millions of people. But I'm still an introvert by nature, so I still really need that alone time every day. And so having an off or closed sign would be great, because I've had experiences before, like where I went traveling with people where, they just expect me to be fun and entertaining all the live long day. And it's like, I can't maintain that all day. Like 8 hours, man, 9 to 5, and then I am shutting down for the day, man. I just want to go lay down and read. You know what I mean? So I hope that answers that question. Lloyd also wants to know about insect repellent, if I need that in Nevada. Well, we're in the desert. It's pretty dry here. There aren't a lot of mosquitoes, if any. Yeah, there's bugs like scorpions and whatnot, but I don't know that there's any insect repellent that would help with that. I don't ever really use insect repellent. It's gross, it's sticky, it's stinky, it's full of all kind of chemicals. Yeah, I've gone backpacking a couple times to like hot springs or whatever where there's a lot of bugs, and I don't know, man. I've never had a problem with it, knock wood. In fact, I sometimes joke that I have bitter blood because whenever I do go camping someplace where there are mosquitoes, my one sister, I have two sisters, one of them gets just annihilated. And for whatever reason, my other sister gets bit too. I don't usually get bit too bad. So I don't know if my blood is bad or what, but hey, I'm not complaining. Okay, and then Lloyd also wants to know, I assume you need plenty of sunscreen most of your days. And that's also a question I got from Craig. Craig wanted to know, do you ever apply sunscreen when exposed to extended hot sun sessions? And what brand do you prefer? Well, Craig and Lloyd, I'm really good about wearing sunscreen on my face because I'm vain. You know, I'm trying to stave off wrinkles as long as I can, you know? So for like 25 years probably, I've been wearing facial moisturizer that has sunblock in it. Only like SPF 15 or 30, maybe, not super strong. The brand I use is CeraVe, or I think Walmart makes a fake knockoff version of it too now. So whatever, I'll use that too. I'm not too particular about it, but very important for the face and the neck and the décolletage, because you know how you see them ladies that looks like they're made out of beef jerky? Well, I don't want to be one of them ladies. But for the rest of my body, you know, I used to be a lot better about it. I like that spray-on kind, which is supposed to be A, maybe not as effective, and B, dangerous, because if you breathe it in, it's really bad for you. But I would always hold my breath, spray myself down, and I would use Walmart brand because it's the cheapest and I'm a skinflint. But if Walmart wasn't available, I don't know, I'd get whatever was cheapest, Copper Tone or whatever. But definitely it had to be the spray mist. I just don't like that gooey, goopy stuff that you have to rub in. Like, it just takes forever and it's sticky and gross. But I've even kind of quit wearing that. I mean, if I do plan to be out in the sun all day for a day, I will apply sunblock because I'm not stupid. But for the most part, I feel like, well, I've built up enough of a base tan at this point to where I'm not going to get burned. A, and B, and this segues into the next question. Well, my heritage, my ethnic heritage, I am part Portuguese, and so I think that little bit of Iberian blood allows me to tan well without burning. So let's get into that next question. Anonymous wanted to know, what's your heritage? Where do your ancestors originate from? Okay, well, I did 23andMe. A year or 2 years ago, and I mean, say what you will about it, maybe it's not 100% accurate. I feel like it gave me a pretty good idea, and there weren't too many surprises in it. I mean, I already knew that I was English and German and part Portuguese. My grandmother's father is from the Azores Islands. Speaking of international travel, I would love to go to the Azores Islands, see if I could meet any family out there. Oh my god, I bet it's beautiful. But yeah, he was full-blooded Portuguese. So that's where I get my ability to tan, a little bit of olive complexion. And by the way, my grandma, his daughter, she's in her 80s and she still has amazing skin. She just has a great complexion. And I think she uses Lubriderm, and she turned me on to using a satin pillowcase. Okay. It's supposed to be better for wrinkles. So even when I'm camping, I always have a satin pillowcase. You know, I told you I'm vain. So Portuguese, German, English. I have 0 Irish. I'm not Irish at all, which is unusual for a lot of Americans. I also don't have any Native American. I always thought for some reason that I was part Native American, part Apache to be specific. But 23andMe did not turn anything Native American up. But I did find out that I was part Jewish, Ashkenazi Jewish. I guess there's like Sephardic and Ashkenazi. Ashkenazi is like the kind from like Russia and Poland. I can't remember how much percent. Not a ton, but a significant amount. So I don't even know if that qualifies as ethnic, but other than that, I'm pretty much just German and English. Okay, and then Michael from Laneville, Texas, wanted to know, as a Texan, I get curious when folks mention they or their family came from or went through Texas on the way to where they ended up. I was wondering if you had a thumbnail sketch of your family's Texas background. Okay, Michael, you probably saw something I posted somewhere. One of my, I guess it would be like a distant cousin, has been doing a bunch of genealogy research into my dad's side of the family. And it was really interesting. I got a Facebook message from him out of the blue one day a couple years ago. Like, hey, I think we might be cousins. He was doing all this research and I turned up. Woo-wee. I bet he was sorry. Just kidding. But he had all these really neat old family photos of people on my dad's side. And they were from Texas. I don't know where in Texas, though, unfortunately. I'm sorry. I feel like I did know at one time, but they migrated to California. Oh gosh, probably back in the, I don't know, 1930s-ish, 40s maybe. And I don't think I have any relatives still living in Texas today, unfortunately, because golly, I mean, all this big hair and the way I fill out them Daisy Dukes, why, you'd think I was 100% Texan, but sorry, I'm from California. Okay, here's some easier logistical questions. John, did the homeless guy in downtown Las Vegas ever get his sleeping bag? Okay, I did a video where I was walking down Fremont Street, which is kind of like in the rough part of town, and I ran into this homeless guy. Well, he said he was homeless, and he had something he wanted to say to the mayor. I believed him. He came off as very, he was a cool person. You could just tell. He was a straightforward guy. He just wanted the mayor to know they were having problems getting ID cards. If you watch the video, you know what I'm talking about. Well, in the course of our conversation, it came up that he was sleeping in his friend's backyard, and he didn't even have a sleeping bag. Well, a generous viewer sent me, I think, 5 sleeping bags to bring downtown to Curtis and whoever needed them. So I did. I went down. I made a little video about it. I drove down to, Curtis said, you can find me at there's this market on the corner of Fremont Street and 10th, 11th, of Your Family Market. He said, just go in there and ask for Beaumont, which is what he goes by, because he's from Beaumont, Texas, actually. So I did. I went down there with the sleeping bags. He wasn't there. They said he actually worked there, but he had just gotten off a shift. So I don't know, man. I ended up leaving the sleeping bags there, and they said they would give them to him. I keep meaning to go back and make sure that they got them to him. But even if they didn't, I'm guessing they probably got to people who needed them. Because let me tell you something. Times are friggin' rough in Las Vegas. Matter of fact, just yesterday, I was driving down 5th Street. You know, now that I think about it, I should make a video about this. 5th Street. It's kind of north of where Fremont Street and all the tourist stuff is. It's just really the down and out part of Vegas, the real down and out. There were so many homeless people on that stretch of sidewalk, just set up in tents and camps, and it was gnarly, man. That's why I never, ever, ever for one second lose sight of how lucky I am. If only to have been born with, a sharp brain. I wasn't born rich or anything like that, but I was definitely born with a skill set and, physical attributes that a lot of people aren't. So I try to keep that in mind. Okay, now John wants to know, do you remember your debut on KOH AM 780 back in January that was preempted? You were vague about that at the time. What was that all about? Okay, so the story there is, I think I posted about it on Facebook. I don't know, some guy from this radio station up in Reno's #1 talk radio station, wanted to interview me. And I go, oh, okay, when? And he said Saturday at 2 or whatever. And so I advertised that, like, hey, tune in Saturday at 2. Well, come to find out, the guy was just interviewing me to do, I don't know, he was going to chop it up into little pieces and put it in bumpers at different times. I think it actually aired. It just aired all over the place, and it wasn't like one solid chunk of an interview. So I'm sorry. I know there was a few people who tuned in expecting to hear me, and it didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to. My bad. I guess I need a better manager. As it is, I'm doing all of this myself, man, and it's a lot. Okay, here's kind of an interesting question. Scott wants to know, what are some of the perks of working at Caesars? I know you mentioned employees eat free. Just wondering if there was others. Okay, so I did, before I started my YouTube channel, I worked as a nude model for about 10 years. And then prior to that, I worked at Caesars Palace for 10 years as a photographer. And this video is already too long, so I'm not going into any details about any of that. But I did work at Caesars Palace. They do have a cafeteria down in the basement where employees of Caesars eat a free hot meal per shift, I think. Like, it's in the union contract because they're all in the culinary union. That's one main bonus to working for Caesars. I never actually worked for Caesars Palace. I was a contractor for the photography company. So I don't even think we were supposed to be eating in the cafeteria at all. But if you are a Caesars employee, I think, well, obviously you get probably really good health benefits. But that's probably just from being a union member, to be fair. I think the culinary union has their own health insurance. So I don't know, working for Caesars, you could have good health insurance, free meals. You probably get discounts on show tickets and stuff like that. I'm guessing you probably get discounts on hotel rooms for like friends and family. I'm guessing. I don't know. I never actually worked for Caesars. Oh, plus you get the bonus of getting to work for Caesars. How awesome is that? Okay, switching gears to some questions regarding locations and travel. Raymond has a few questions. He wants to know, what was my most frightening adventure thus far? I really haven't ever been scared on a adventure or in a video anyways. I think I've mentioned this before. The only time I was ever even like slightly unsettled, and it wasn't on camera, was I was camping out in the middle of nowhere once, middle of nowhere, Nevada, middle of the night, my car alarm went off. And I just sort of thought, oh, I must have rolled over and hit my car key, you know, because I used to lock my car at night. I'd get in the car, go to sleep, and lock it. Well, the friggin' woo, I was out in the middle of nowhere, so it's not like I bothered anybody with it, but I got up, like, looked around. There was nobody out there, nothing, not even cows or anything. So I just took a pee, went back to sleep. Locked the car, went back to sleep. 10 minutes later, happened again. Oh, no. Got up, looked around. I figured there was some short in the electrical system of the car. So I just left the car unlocked and went back to sleep, and it didn't happen again. And ever since then, yeah, I guess I shouldn't say this on YouTube, but I just sleep with my car unlocked because I'm always in the middle of nowhere. There's never anybody around. I mean, if somebody wants to get me that bad, they can break a window anyway, so whatever, man. But that's really the most frightening adventure I've had so far. He also wants to know, Raymond wants to know, if I'd be willing to spend several days in the Superstition Mountains exploring an old mine site. I do want to go to the Superstition Mountains in Arizona. They're beautiful. I'd like to spend a few days there. Would I spend multiple days on just one site? Probably not. I'd get bored. I mean, to be honest, I'm not even really that interested in mining and mine sites. I like the cabins and the homes where they lived and that stuff. So several days at a mine site, that might kind of strain my interest. And then he also wants to know when my YouTube career ends, do I have any plans for the distant future? Well, I feel like I already kind of addressed that. I sort of plan on retiring and being weird. Tina wants to know, would you ever come to Missouri and do some exploring and lake time? Sure would. One of my grandmas is from Missouri, the Boot Heel. So, of course, I want to go back there and explore my family roots. I'm a big fan of Mark Twain, and he's from Missouri. And I always want to go to Lake of the Woods. I think, isn't that in Missouri? Or Lake of the Ozarks is in Missouri. Yeah. Well, I always wanted to go there, Lake of the Ozarks. It looks beautiful. So, yes, I will definitely go to Missouri and do some lake time at some point in the future. Now, Sherry from West Virginia wants to know if I have any plans to revisit any cabins, homesteads, or ghost towns. Maybe Cerro Gordo revisit, since Brent has started his adventures in ghost town living. Okay, Cerro Gordo is a ghost town that I did a video at years ago. And in the interim, since I made my video, this young guy bought it. And, well, I guess he's in the process of fixing it up. Well, I accidentally burned part of it down. He didn't, but there was a fire. He seems like a pretty cool guy. His channel has a ton of viewers. To be honest, like, somebody did try to connect me with him, but I think he's only interested in bigger YouTube channels than mine. I only have 150,000 subscribers. I don't think I'm big enough for Brent. But I'd still go back up there. I mean, poke around. Gibby wants to know, I enjoy all your adventures and wondered if you were ever up north to the Montana-Idaho hot springs area. Yes, I have, Gibby. I went to Jerry Johnson Hot Spring, Weir Hot Spring. I think those are both in Idaho, but right on the border near Missoula. I went to one called New Potosi in Montana. Idaho, I went to a bunch in Idaho. Idaho was don't tell Nevada, but Idaho was my favorite state for hot springs because they were so beautiful. Matter of fact, I might be going back to Idaho this summer to revisit some of the hot springs that I've been to before I had a channel. Because I went to Idaho this summer right before I started my YouTube channel. Didn't shoot any of it. Here's one from Lindsay who says, my partner Ashley and I are getting married June 27th. Congratulations. We came up with the idea of doing a hot spring honeymoon. We want to stay in California, maybe Nevada. Ashley doesn't want to get too rugged. She wants to relax at 1 or 2 hot springs, possibly camping with running water or a dog-friendly hotel. What do I recommend for a hot spring honeymoon? Well, that's a tall order. Most of the hot springs I go to are pretty rugged, but one place did come to mind. There's this place called Benton Hot Spring, which is kind of near-ish Mono Lake, Mammoth Lakes area. It's a hot spring resort. I think there's motel rooms. I've actually never stayed there myself, but I think there's motel rooms, but there's also campsites, and each campsite has its own private hot spring tub. So running water. I'm not 100% sure about the dog aspect. You'd have to call and ask them. But it's amazingly beautiful, and there's a bunch of other hot springs kind of in the area, so you could do little day trips and go soak at other places, but still come back to either your hotel room or campsite at night and have plenty of running water and probably a pretty nice honeymoon. So good luck, and let me know if you decide to go there. I've never stayed there, like I said, and I'm very curious. Okay, now all the way from Louisville, Kentucky, it's Hiram, who wants to, well, he's got some salty language. I have great difficulty walking and wonder if you could maybe expand on cool places for old beepers like me. Oh, Hiram. Places for people who have difficulty walking. Well, yeah, there's plenty of them. I mean, you can't do most of the hikes I do, but a lot of national parks nowadays are pretty good about keeping things accessible or ADA compliant. So you can see, like, for example, Death Valley is in my backyard. There's a lot of stuff you can do just driving around Death Valley, or there's paved, like for motorized wheelchairs and stuff. Zion Park, I think you can get around Zion Park in Utah, and that's beautiful pretty easily. There's a lot of paved areas there, paved trails, and there's a bus that even runs you around all the different sites. Yosemite is probably the same way. I think as long as you're sticking with the big parks, it's pretty easy. And if you were talking about Vegas-centric stuff, even here, if you go out to Valley of Fire State Park, which is absolutely beautiful, there's a beautiful scenic loop drive you can do. Just drive it and see everything. There's a few places you can get out and, look around. You don't have to walk too far. I mean, again, it just depends on how far when you say you can't walk, can you walk? And if you don't want to walk at all. But where there's a will, there's a way. You can actually see quite a bit of this beautiful country just by car. And Hiram also wants to know if I've ever been to the Faywood Hot Springs. No, I haven't. Faywood. I don't even know where that is. I feel like it's in Arkansas, Georgia, maybe. I haven't really been to many hot springs back east. I've been to Hot Spring, Arkansas, but that was pretty much it. And then he also wants to know, do I still model? Well, no, I don't. I mean, I do occasionally, set my lights up and do photo shoots for fun, You can do screenshots of this. We'll do a photo shoot right now, okay? I'll do a bunch of poses, and then whenever I strike a pose that you like, just do a screenshot, okay? Better do some full length. Okay, was that fun or what? But as for a career or a job, I never considered modeling a career. I retired from that. The last paid photo shoot I did was, I think January 2019, because I started making enough money on my YouTube channel to where I could just focus on this. And to be honest, this takes all my time. I don't have time to model even if I wanted to. Okay, now Mike wants to know, in all the time you spent in the desert, have you ever seen a UFO? And Vivian kind of had the same question too, wanted to know if I've ever seen any UFOs or paranormal activity. Unfortunately, no, I haven't. I'm a skeptic, but I'm open-minded, and unfortunately, as much time as I spend out in the middle of nowhere, nothing is doing anything to convince me that there's anything out there, because golly, I mean, I have literally laid in hot springs at night going, UFOs, come to me. I'm even willing to, this is kind of gross, but I'm even willing to be probed if that's what it takes to find out the truth. But nothing has ever happened. I shouldn't say that. I watched that Travis Walton UFO movie a while ago. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he got abducted, and God, they just did really unspeakable things to him. So I wouldn't really want that to happen, but kinda, because I want to know, man. I mean, if any aliens are watching this video now, I don't want to be tortured, but I mean, let's collaborate on a video at least. Jeff from Morongo Valley, California wants to know if I travel with a gun for protection. And if not, how would I plan on defending myself in the rare chance that such an encounter occurs? Well, a lot of people ask me that, and I do have a gun, but I don't travel with it. I mean, to be honest, I just feel much safer out in the middle of nowhere than I do here in the city. Yeah, I'm sleeping out in the middle of a cow pasture and my car alarm goes off in the middle of the night. Yeah, I could have had my gun and been like, who goes there? But it was nothing, you know? So, yeah, maybe I've just been lucky. But no, I don't like traveling with a handgun because I just feel like it adds like this weighty, weird presence, this juju, and I almost feel like then you're attracting some kind of weird confrontation. I know that probably sounds hippy-dippy, and well, now everyone's going to try to come at me with a gun because they know I'm not carrying one. Hey, that's not to say that I'm not armed. I do have, I carry a big machete with me that my friend and fan Blake sent me. So I always roll with this giant machete that I guess I could use in a pinch. I've got all kinds of little knives in the car. But I feel like, to be honest, my biggest weapon is my wits, you know? Like using common sense and your wits, keeping your wits about you. That's your best line of defense. And I'll just keep the gun for safety back here on the main streets of Vegas. Okay, now Steph from the beautiful Ruby Mountains wants to know what are my most essential backpacking accessories. I'm not a huge backpacker. I don't enjoy carrying heavyweight on my back just to go somewhere and spend the night. What's the point? Unless it's some kind of cool hot spring or some kind of ghost town that you can't get to other than backpacking. So all that being said, what are my most essential accessories? Well, a decent sleeping pad because I hate sleeping on a rocky, rough ground. So like I have a thermarest, which is a self-inflating pad that rolls up. You always see backpackers with the big roll at the bottom. I like that the best. I also have an inflatable backpacking mattress called a Nemo Air that was really expensive. And it's okay, comfortable. It packs up a lot smaller than the thermarest. It's all right. I used it on my last backpacking trip. But my most essential is, essential to me is having plenty of fuel so that I can boil as much water as I need to. I don't have to skimp on food or drink. Having enough Mountain House dehydrated meals with me so I don't have to skimp. And having enough hot cocoa packets. And, well, on my last backpacking trip, it was really cold and rainy. And so my friend had brought a little bit of scotch. And I'm not a scotch drinker, but let me tell you something. Ooh, that scotch was a lifesaver. So if somebody else carries it, booze. But I don't think I want to drink on a backpacking trip badly enough to carry that weight myself. I'm going to save my weight for the essentials, a good sleeping pad, plenty of food, and plenty of fuel. Lizzie wants to know, what are my top 5 must-haves right now for when I go out on my quest? So I'm guessing she means just out on the road in general. My top 5, well, I love my Jackery portable battery power station. And yes, I did do some sponsored videos by Jackery. They gave me the Jackery for free in exchange for doing the video. But let me tell you, I really swear by those things. They're awesome, man. You just plug it into your cigarette lighter while you're driving and it charges up. And it's just like a big battery bank that you can power your laptop, your cell phone, your USB rechargeable headlamp, your USB rechargeable lighter. I mean, I have USB rechargeable everything now. And so that Jackery keeps it all going. So that's number 1. Number 2 probably is the USB rechargeable headlamp because it's just so handy to have and never have to worry about the battery dying. The USB rechargeable lighter for lighting your stove is amazing. You never have to worry about your lighter dying. Same thing. I also started putting USB rechargeable, those little tiny LED fairy lights around the inside of the car so my car is lit up at night and I don't have to worry about wearing a headlamp when I'm in bed. Love those. Let's see, I need one more. Oh, my hot spring kit. I keep my bathrobe, a thermometer, and a floaty all squished into this little decorative pillowcase in the back of my car. So that way, well, if I'm at a hot spring, all I have to do is zoop, up, open the pillowcase, take all the ingredients out, and go at it. If I'm not at a hot spring, well then, I've got a pillow. Okay, Lizzie also wanted to know if I've been to the top of Gas Peak, which is a mountain out here. And I have not been to the top of Gas Peak yet. But I will, and yes, I will make a video when I get there. Okay, Johnny Q, who's a retired NYPD officer and an avid camper, wants to know, how do I maintain cleanliness on a daily basis? He says he's traveled all over in his Explorer, and he takes his baths in lakes and waterfalls. Tell me your trick. Well, my trick is, I don't actually take a lot of baths. I mean, if I'm at a hot spring, I guess that's kind of like taking a bath, but I just stay really clean with a good old-fashioned washcloth and a little pot of water, you know. I've heard it called some different offensive terms. I won't go there. But, you know, you just get the washcloth. I wash my face real good and, you know, every now and then clean out my pits and bits. And You know, I'm lucky. My feet don't sweat or get real stinky, and I'm not a very sweaty, stinky person in general. I know that there's probably some people who would beg to differ with that assessment, but I'm not. My biggest struggle is washing my hair. I have to wash my hair at least every 5 days or it starts to get real raunchy, and that can be a real pain. So generally I end up either paying for a shower at a truck stop or getting a hotel room. I mean, for me, I have to go get Wi-Fi once a week to upload my videos anyway, so sometimes I'll just lump it all together and get a room, use the opportunity to wash my hair, and upload my videos with the hotel Wi-Fi. Jeremiah has a question. Jeremiah wants to know, do you ever do any nude hikes on national forest trails that technically aren't clothing optional? And if so, how do you feel about that? Well, Jeremiah, and everybody else who wants to know the answer to this question, I hate to burst your bubble, but I don't really hike naked. I have an Instagram account where I post all these nude in nature pictures, but they're mostly just sitting around at hot springs. I'm not actually a nudist, really. I just like being naked out in nature at hot springs. I don't hang around my house naked. I don't sleep naked. I don't go to nudist resorts, and I don't really hike naked. The only place I really hike naked is there's this one hot spring called Deep Creek in Apple Valley, California. And it's a well-known kind of a nudie place. And so the trail going down there, it's pretty common to see either naked or almost naked people hiking on that. So I have hiked down that 2-3 mile trail naked before. But that's the only place. One time I went on a hike out in the mountains outside Vegas naked, because it was when I was still modeling and I didn't want to get tan lines, you know, because I was afraid, I'm a nude model. If I have tan lines, no one will hire me. So I was hiking nude, and I just had to keep worrying about running into people on the trail, and it just turned out to be too much of a hassle for me. So no, I don't really hike naked unless it's at a hot spring. Like I was just out in Death Valley at this well-known series of hot springs where people are all walking around naked all day. Yeah, I did the same, but everybody was. Okay, Roy from Jacksonville, Florida wants to know if there's any other states besides California and Arizona that I've traveled on Route 66, and what sites have I visited on Route 66? Well, most of the Route 66 that I've explored was in California and Arizona, but I did go to some places in New Mexico also. Gallup, New Mexico, Flagstaff, Arizona, don't forget Winona, Kingman, Bastos, San Bernardino. Yeah, I've been to all them places. Although, actually, I've never been to San Bernardino, the town. I've just been to the county. And I have been thinking about doing a Route 66 video. It'd be fun to travel the whole thing, like all the way from Chi-Town West. If I do that, well, boy howdy, you'll be sure to hear about it, and there'll be videos all over my channel. All about it. Okay, so now we're getting into some personal questions. Got quite a few questions about something I've been alluding to on social media for a while, and that is my sister and me are trying to buy some property in the desert where we can kind of start our own little bohemian compound / ranch, just sort of swan about in caftans all day, doing yoga, drinking cocktails, making weird videos. That kind of goes back to what I was saying about retiring somewhere and just getting weird. Okay, I got a bunch of questions about that. So Frank wants to know, how's the property purchase going? And assuming it closes, what will we do with it? And how big might it be? Well, Frank, I don't want to give too many details away yet because the deal isn't 100% done yet. But the deal is proceeding apace. In fact, I'm going to do some stuff next week to do with that. We found a property we're interested in. It's not as big as we wanted, but it's big enough and it has other qualities that make up for the size. And we are going to just sort of make it our little weird desert bohemian enclave. Matter of fact, if you've ever seen the documentary Grey Gardens, if you haven't, oh my God, stop everything and look it up. But it's basically about these two distant relatives of Jacqueline Onassis, who lived in this crumbling manor house way out on Long Island somewhere. They had come from money way back in the day, but now they were living in this crumbling manor house, and the one lady's in her 80s, and it's a mom and daughter, and they're just both so eccentric and weird, and they wear these like turbans and outfits, and well, we kind of want to be like that mixed with Carlos Castaneda. Carolyn and Steve also want to know what I'm looking for in my new piece of property. Do I want a hot spring, desert camping resort, a business, acreage? Will it have a cabin, water source? And will I keep my Las Vegas house? Well, the place we're looking at, it doesn't have a hot spring, but it's very close to some hot springs. I'll just say that. And is also very close to a lot of desert camping. We aren't planning, the property we got isn't big enough to offer camping, just friends. A business, probably not, because we don't want to have to get a business license. Maybe just sort of, you know, people can drop by and say hi if they want. It definitely has a house. It's got multiple dwellings and structures on it. And it has two, count them, two wells. And as to whether or not I'll keep this house, gosh, I don't know, man. It's a top of the market right now in Vegas, so I was considering selling it. But I'm not planning to move into this new house until the end of the summer. And so by then, who knows what'll happen. So I might just keep this and rent it out. I might sell it. Haven't decided yet. Mary kind of wanted to know the same thing. She wanted to know what plans we have for the land. I hope I kind of answered that for you, Mary. And she also wants to know how she could get a hold of the articles I write for the cannabis magazine. I write an article every month for this Vegas Cannabis. It's called Vegas Cannabis. I write a column for this every month. I think you just Google it online. In fact, I'll put the link in the description to this video of where you can read the articles for this. And then if you want, I think you can even order, you know, physical copies of it on their website. But I should also note, if you live anywhere in Nevada, they have these magazines for free in dispensaries up and down the state. Matter of fact, they just dropped some off at the Clown Motel in Tonopah, because my last column was about the Clown Motel. So they got them in Tonopah too, Reno, Tahoe, and Vegas. So check it out or go online. Okay, I should note that Greg and Joanne also wanted to know about the property purchase, but I feel like I pretty much just kind of answered that for you. One more question about the property from all the way from the Netherlands. It's Peter. He said, in a recent video, you showed that you and your sister had some business to do in Bishop. Does this mean that the property you're getting is somewhere in the Owens Valley? And once you get your own patch of sagebrush, will you actually leave Las Vegas and live there? Well, Peter, you're very astute. I'm not going to say yet where this property is because, like I said, we haven't closed the deal yet, and it's not 100% for sure, but we were doing business at a title company in Bishop, so that's a clue for sure. And as to will I actually leave Las Vegas and move there, I'm pretty sure, yeah. I don't mean to bag on Las Vegas. There's lots of good things about living here, but I don't know, man. I'm ready to just be out in the peace and quiet of the country. And I will say this, where we're thinking of moving is close enough to where I can still go to Vegas. I mean, not just to go pick up a pint of milk, but I could still go to Vegas for a day without it being a huge trip. So yeah, I'll still come back to Vegas, and it depends on what I do with this house. I mean, I might even, who knows, might even keep a bedroom here just in case. Okay, now some real personal questions. Carolyn and Doc want to know, does anything scare me? Well, I'm not really super afraid of snakes or spiders or the dark or heights or any of the typical things people are afraid of. I mean, I guess people are afraid of dying. I guess I'm as afraid of dying and ceasing to exist as anyone. Or cancer. I don't want to get cancer. I had a lump in my breast back in 2017, and I didn't really vlog about it because that was kind of early in my channel, and I wasn't sure if that was like appropriate to talk about on an adventure channel. Yeah, now if that happened to me, which I hope it doesn't, I would definitely be vlogging about it because that was scary for sure. It turned out to be benign, and matter of fact, it just dissolved on its own. It was weird. But yeah, I guess I'm afraid of illness and death, but man, I really I'm trying to not be afraid of anything because it seems like fear really does rule a lot of people's lives. And what's the point? There's no point in being scared, you know? Like, just go out and lay in the desert, sleep in the desert. Like, come at me. If you really want to get me, you know? Like, we're all part of the same fabric of existence, you know? Me, the bad guy, the coyote, the knife in the bad guy's hand. I know this sounds like real metaphysical and woo-woo, but we are all one, so why be scared of it? Oh my gosh, Janet wants to know, what are some of my favorite books? Well, Janet, I love to read. Unfortunately, don't get a lot of time to do so anymore, but like everybody, Catcher in the Rye, huge favorite book of mine since I was like, gosh, I think I read it when I was like 8 or 9 first. So ever since then, yeah, love that book. Still to this day. As far as my favorite authors, I like Mark Twain, and I love Huckleberry Finn. I'll be honest, I don't think I've read any other books by Mark Twain. I've read some essays and some stuff that he wrote, but the only full book, well, maybe Tom Sawyer, is Huckleberry Finn, and it's so good, man. I just listened to an ebook version of it that was really well done. The guy who read it was amazing. So huge Mark Twain fan, Huckleberry fan. And then I also like Kurt Vonnegut, the author Kurt Vonnegut. Kind of like a humorous satirist from the 70s, 80s. I like, in particular, the book he wrote, Breakfast of Champions. I don't even think that's one of his top books, but hey, I really like it. Oh, I just read a really interesting book that was written by, what was his name? Oh gosh. The governor of Nevada was Paul Laxalt, and I think his brother wrote a book about the Basque shepherds experience in the area around Reno back at the early 1900s. Oh, Sweet Promised Land by Robert Laxalt. I really liked this book. It's a slim volume. I liked it more than I thought I was going to, actually. I met a Basque dude at a hot spring up by, well, he was from Winnemucca, and he actually turned me on to that book. So if you're watching this video, thank you. Okay, Kathleen says, I love when you break out in song. And I wonder how such a young person like you knows so much about my generation's music, especially a song like, is that all there is? Is that all there is? If that's all there is, my friends, then let's keep dancing. Let's break out the booze and have a ball. Remember that old Peggy Lee song? Well, Kathleen, the answer to your question is I love music. I've always loved music and all kinds of it, okay? I know people go, well, I'll listen to everything except rap or except country. Man, I listen to it all. The only music I don't like is contemporary Christian music. It just turns me off. But even then, there's probably some stuff that I could probably get down to. So I just listen to a lot of music. I used to go to Goodwill, you know, the thrift store Goodwill, with my sister when we were teenagers. And they used to sell those old LPs, you know, record albums for 99 cents a piece. And so we would just go like spend all our allowance money on weird old albums. And that I got turned on to a lot of weird old music that way. Like that's how I got into like Slim Whitman, When I'm Calling You. Remember that from Mars Attacks? Like Andy Williams, Doris Day, all that stuff came from just buying random old records at Goodwill. And now I don't even have to do that. Now there's YouTube. So, God, I put on like, there's this YouTube channel called, or it used to be called Rare and Unfamiliar Music. And it would play some crazy stuff, man. Like Russian disco from like the 70s, like Japanese jazz. Like I got turned on to a lot of strange stuff on that channel. So I'm just constantly, I listen to a lot of music on YouTube, just constantly looking for weird new stuff. I will say one of my favorite discoveries was Moondog. He was a jazz musician from the, well, I guess he kind of came up in the 50s. He was a blind guy. He looked like a Viking. He would stand on the corner in New York City, blind dude dressed like a Viking. And like, I guess he would sing or play music and busk for tips, but he actually became really well respected as a jazz musician, and he's got some amazing music. Okay, now Valerie wants to know, why don't I wear earrings anymore? I used to wear them all the time. Well, I'm wearing them now for this video, but yeah, you're right, Valerie. I did quit wearing, oh, I think I might have just let my armpit hair show. Sorry, I was trying to hide it with this shirt because I know a lot of people don't like it, but hey, what are you going to do? Anyway, I just got too lazy to wear earrings. And also, I just sort of felt like they were distracting because I'm always wearing a hat and no makeup. And so having these things dangling off, I don't know, I don't know, somehow my aesthetic changed. But I still have all the earrings. I mean, I have a huge collection of earrings, and you know how I was saying when I retire out to the desert and start making weird videos? Well, the earrings will all come in very handy for that. I'm going to start dressing up more, even though I'm going to be living in the country. Okay, now Lisa wanted to know, what kind of lipstick and lip liner do I use? I'm wearing this just for you, Lisa, and as I was putting it on earlier, I made a little video to show you. It's a really weird, complicated process for my lipstick. I don't just put on one color, okay? This all comes back from my modeling days. Even before I worked as a nude model, when I was still working at Caesar's Palace, I didn't work until the evening, so I had all day free. So I would work like trade shows and other gigs during the day, and then I would go from that to Caesar's at night. So I needed a lipstick that would stay and not wipe off, okay? So I experimented, and I came up with a combination that works for me. I use a lip marker. I think it's CoverGirl Outlast in Saucy Plum, I think is the name of the color. It's number 540, I think. So it's basically a marker you draw on your lips to stain it. It's a stain. Well, it goes on real strong, but I blot almost all of that off to just sort of create a base. Told you this was complicated. Then I use CoverGirl Outlast Lip Color in Brazen Raisin. I put a coat of that on, and I blot most of that off too. When it dries, I mean, this stuff, you gotta act fast, because once it dries, it doesn't move, right? So I blot it off, I let that light coat dry. Then, this is essential, I have developed this weird buffing technique with I'll get a washcloth or a towel or something and buff off, because it tends to get kind of cakey, because it's meant to stay on, so it can look real like cake, like solid. So I buff it off, and then I do a second coat of that, just for good luck, I guess. I don't know, I feel like it does add something to the final thing. Blot that, a little more buff, and then a final top coat of gloss. And I've been wearing that through this whole video, and it's still on. You can see, it doesn't go anywhere. It's good stuff. CoverGirl Outlast. Oh, speaking of my armpit hair, Oz wanted, well, it's kind of a NSFW question. You have lots of hair under your arms. I can't help but fantasize how hairy you are below. Please tell me my assumptions are accurate. Well, Oz, what do you think? I'm too lazy to shave my armpits, and I'm too lazy to shave my legs. I'll just let your wild imagination do the rest. Then he also says, you come off in your videos as highly intelligent and just so much damn fun to be around. Yes, I know YouTubers only show us what you want us to see, but I must say you seem pretty genuine. With that being said, I can't help but wonder what type of men and or women you're attracted to. Yes, I mean sexually. Well, Oz, I'm definitely heterosexual. I would say, if anything, I'm maybe skewed towards asexuality more than homosexuality or bisexuality. I don't have a super high libido. So I don't know, having a relationship isn't the most important thing to me. And I'm not the kind of person that would sacrifice a lot for a relationship, because I'm perfectly happy not having one. I'm just really independent, and I like to go where I want to go, when I want to go, spend as much time there as I want to spend, and, do what I want to do. And, well, maybe I just haven't met the right person yet. But I haven't met that person who has made me want to sacrifice that. So I'm not ruling it out. And I definitely understand that there's a lot to be gained from being in a relationship with somebody. And I feel like it's actually something that I'm really missing out on in my life. And, of course, I've had a few long-term boyfriends in my life, but not that many. I've always just sort of been a lone wolf. And I was very self-conscious about that for a while. And then, of course, I felt left out, and every now and then I'll boo-hoo, like, why can't I find love? But maybe I'm just one of those people who's meant to be alone, and that's not necessarily so bad. I mean, I feel like if I ever get to the point where I really, really, really feel like I need a partner, then well, I hate to say lower my standards, but I'll be more willing to bend with my requirements and find somebody. Oh, and Oz also said... Random as hell, but have you ever had a layover in Dallas or took a flight from Dallas to LA? Reason for asking is I thought I may have met you long before I knew who you even were. No, unfortunately, I've never taken a flight from Dallas to LA, so it wasn't me. It must have been my evil twin. Okay, one final question. Randy says, asking for a close friend and relative, will you marry me? Well, Randy, I feel like I just addressed why my answer is no in that last question. So I know who you're talking about, Randy. And he'll always be a very close friend. And I'll always love him like a brother. Hopefully you enjoyed this Q&A. I'm already up to 169,000 subscribers, I think, as of shooting this. Let me just check. So before you know it, it'll be time to do... Yeah, I'm at 162,594. So, hey, before you know it, it'll be time to do that 200,000 subscriber video. And, well, get your questions ready for that. Thanks for listening.